The most dangerous place you can be as a trial lawyer is to think you've got it figured out.
I'm still trying to get better. I still have the passion for it. I believe in it.
Everyone can learn to do what I do.
And yet there's a group here that continues to get extraordinary verdicts.
Trial Lawyers University is revolutionizing, educating lawyers to be better trial lawyers. It's been invaluable to me.
Trial Lawyers University, where the Titans come to train. Produced and powered by LawPods.
All right. Well, we got Shemia Fagan all the way from Portland. Is that right?
That's right.
From Portland, Oregon with us today. And Shemia, in a little bit, we're going to talk about Claude and AI and how you've innovated, how you've figured out how to use it to basically run your practice and run your life. But that is going to be a little bit later. But before we get to Claude, before there was Shemia, the AI guru with Claude, there's Shemia, the practicing every day, trial lawyer practicing litigator and trial lawyer in the making and building. Okay. So, what really inspired you to go to law school and become a lawyer?
I was a failed minister.
Well, I would have never guessed you and the cloth to be in the same room together. Well,
I dropped out of a Master's of Divinity program at Boston University and realized I probably should go to law school instead.
Right. As soon as they had that whole thing about the premarital sex thing, you're like, oh, I'm out of this. Like, this one
X-rated podcast.
I'm out of this. All right. So you dropped. That's fascinating. I still love doing my practice. The things I learned about people I would never know. But that ministry thing, because that guy Mark Lanier, he's a very successful minister, but Baptist. I think it really helps his performance in the courtroom too, having the reps, being there in front of the people. So there's some similarity. So you drop out of this ministry, and then where do you head to from there?
Well, I went and sold cars because I had to save money for law school. Also, a lot of reps.
Selling.
A lot of hearing no.
No, really. But being a trial lawyer is about selling. We're selling a belief in justice is what we're selling. And every day we're selling. Every day we're persuading people to do what we want them to do. The people that work with you, getting them motivated, getting them persuaded. It's all leadership. It's all sales. People, it sounds so bad. No, it's all sales. Got to convince people to do things for their own reasons. So how long did you do the sales car?
Oh, just a couple of years, just saving money for law school. I went to law schools in Oregon, 06 to 09, and then went to a kind of corporate defense firm in Portland right out of law school.
That sounds like hell.
I mean, good mentorship, but yeah, it was stiff.
Yeah, good mentorship, working 80 hours a week, grinding out the mundane. So 5 years on the defense. Everybody I talked to that's been on the defense, they tell me their favorite part of being a defense lawyer was having billable hours and just grinding them out. Is that true for you too?
I will be the first person ever that you've talked to that hated billable hours. Not only did I hate them, but I get it. People say, oh, you have to hit so many or whatever. That's awful. But for me, it was I've always had a natural efficiency. My dad gave me a planner when I was like 10. He gave me one of his old planners. So I erased everything and had a schedule starting at 10 years old. I've always loved efficiency and organization. And there is just something about a billable hour when you could get it done more efficiently. You could use a template, but they don't want you to because they want you to spend as much time and recreate the wheel constantly. And that just ground my gears. It did not work well with me.
Seems like AI and the corporate defense firm are probably going to clash with each other when they're trying to bill all these hours out for all the nonsense they've been doing for all these years. And now AI can do it in a fraction, and they'll be like, where's all their, could be a lot of unemployed
There's some innovation coming for sure. There's some defense firms that are definitely out there talking about innovating, and on the AI side, they have to.
They have no choice. That's going to be too bad for them, though. We can't worry about them because they're not our concern. Mm-mm. We have concerns of the plaintiffs and the justice that we're looking for. So you go to law school from 06 to 09. You do 5 years in a defense firm, getting mentored, learning how to grind, learning how to litigate. And then how do you transition from that hellhole to being a plaintiff's lawyer?
Two key things. One is I was serving in the Oregon legislature while I was at the defense firm. And I was a Democrat, and I was out passing things like paid sick leave and paid family leave and bereavement leave and wage transparency. And then I would have to go back to the law firm when we were no longer in session. And have all their corporate clients, and I would always do the HR training because I was doing employment law, and they all hated me as a legislator. And so I saw the light that was missing at the end of the tunnel, meaning I was never going to make partner at a law firm that caters to corporations, because as a legislator, they were my primary adversaries when I would go run for office. And so that was, I think, the long-term thing. The short-term one that made me realize I wanted to be on the plaintiff side was my mom, who I was raised by my dad. He was a single parent in a tiny town of 600 people in rural Oregon, 2 older brothers and my dad and me. And my mom battled meth and heroin addiction most of my life and was homeless on and off the streets of Portland. And in 2009, she had OD'd and ended up in the ICU, and thankfully, miraculously, had recovered. And at the end of that, finally, my brothers and I moved her to Eastern Oregon. She left her other life behind after being in and out of rehab for decades and got clean. And she got a job outside of a bar for the first time in her life at a newspaper. And a few, maybe 4-ish years into that, when I was a lawyer, she started telling me some stuff that was going on, and I just knew they were targeting her for her age. And so I started feeding her things to say. I would write her stuff on Facebook, and she would then email it to HR. And so she was creating a nice record. And when they finally fired her, I represented her, having no idea what I was doing. I was a, baby lawyer, and I was also on the defense side. And, at first they offered her a couple $1,000 and whatever. All I do was send a demand letter. And then I remember when they offered her, I probably can't say the exact amount because it was settlement, but they offered her an amount of money. I now could get her more, but at the time it was a lot. And of course I didn't charge her anything. And I remember being in my office in this downtown Portland law firm. I remember calling her out in little Umatilla, Oregon, where she was living. And I said, "Mom, you might want to sit down for this." I said, "They've now offered you X to settle." And she started to cry. And she said, "This changes everything." She said, "I felt like I won the lottery." And it was a life-changing amount of money for her. And I just remember that even though when I look back now in my employment practice and think, "Oh man, I could have gotten her so much more. She deserved more. That was a great case." But for her in that moment, it was life-changing. She had never owned a house in her life. She used that money to go buy this house in Eastern Oregon, and she ended up passing away about 6 years later for some complications after a surgery, but had been clean and sober and had owned her first time ever owning a house and getting her grandkids there. And so feeling that sense of, wow, that was so amazing compared to, getting some sexual harasser, a settlement and a confidentiality, because he'd sexually harassed a secretary or something. It was so much more fulfilling. And so between that and knowing that the big law firm, the defense side law firm, was not long-term for me, that's what ultimately I gave my firm notice. I think in August of 2014, I gave them notice that I was going to be going at the end of the year, just to, nice long runway and be respectful because they'd been very good to me. And then, January 1, I went out on my own with a plaintiff's firm. I opened my own plaintiff's firm. And then about 8 months later, got a call from HKM Employment Attorneys. They were looking to open a Portland office. They're a Seattle-based firm. And they hired me as their Portland managing partner. And now I'm managing 6 offices for them.
That's fantastic. And I know lots of HKMers.
Yeah.
We've
infiltrated HKM plus TLU forever.
All right. No, I just met Dan.
Yep.
And he's a great guy. Came down to TLU Huntington Beach for at least a couple of days. That was pretty cool.
He's the K of HKM, Dan Kalish.
Dan Kalish. I haven't met the rest of them, but I met, obviously Claire. And then you have your friend in paralegal.
Yes, Margarita.
Right. And then there's...
Emmy Lou.
Emmy Lou.
Yes,
I said, who's the one that lives in my house 1 week a month?
Who's doing the law office study program.
With
that is
Stephen
such a cool
A. King.
opportunity. Yes, Professor
King.
King.
I know. It's great. Every time she's like, "Oh, I'm coming to town." I'm like, "Oh, what a nice surprise." We love house guests here at TLU.
Your house is so big, I don't think you notice when you have house guests.
I actually forgot she was here. I was like, there was a peanut on the floor. And I'm like, how the fuck did a peanut get on my floor? And then I'm like, and then Emmy Lou came, I'm like, "Oh, now I know how the peanut got on the floor." She said, "Oh, I'm so sorry." I'm like, "No, it's not a big deal. Just that I was kind of curious how a peanut randomly got on my floor. That's all. That's the only thing. It was a mystery. It was a mystery." So you come back with HKM, but you're not done with politics, right? Because you went on and served as the Secretary of State.
That's right.
for the state. And how many years did you do that for?
For 2 years in Oregon. And so at first I was in the Oregon House. When I joined HKM, I was in the Oregon House. And then I ended up running and winning a seat in the Oregon State Senate. And then from there, Secretary of State was elected in 2020, which is great because that's right when voting rights were under attack. So it was a cool time to be Secretary of State.
Unlike today, where we have this wonderful president
rephrase that as
protecting
when they
all of our
started
rights and
becoming
rights of
under
minorities.
attack.
It's insane. But fortunately, we have the western half of the United States, which hopefully isn't out of their complete fucking minds like some of this parts of this country, but that's a different story. And so 2 years and what were your favorite parts of being, because for me, being in politics would seem like hell, but obviously it's not for, so what was your favorite part of serving in the Secretary of State role? I
mean, honestly, getting to advocate for voting rights. Oregon was the first vote by mail state back in the mid 90s. Oregon went to all vote by mail. And in 2020 is when the vote by mail, obviously that was the COVID election. So a lot of states went and tried out vote by mail. So Oregon got to be the mentor of a lot of other states, learning how to implement vote by mail and how to talk about the security and all the different audit procedures to make sure that the votes are accurate and there's an audit trail. And so that was cool. I definitely enjoyed that. I've only ever voted in Oregon. My first ever ballot voting in Oregon was vote by mail. So having done that my whole life, it was cool to be able to see other states try it and meet with other secretaries of state across the country, Republican and Democratic, ones that were trying to figure it out during COVID. So I thought that was pretty cool.
What were your big takeaways from, your boot camp training? Because you did it in Vegas and you came back and did it again in Cabo with a nice group of people. So,
and we did it in Alaska together.
We did a little bit in Alaska. You came up to Alaska and taught a little bit up there. We're going to go back there in, I think, about the same week, about the second week of January.
Nice.
People are like, why are you doing it then? I'm like, because it's only 4 hours of light and 10 degrees below zero most of the time.
Obviously.
They're like, what the fuck? Why did anybody go there? I'm like, it weeds out the weak. Only the strong can make it to Alaska. King, you stay home, buddy. It's too cold up there for you. You won't be able to handle it. But it was quite the adventure, wasn't it?
It was. It was really fun. I've only ever been in Anchorage proper, so it was cool to be.
No, it was
45
great.
minutes outside of it.
Yeah,
Alyeska.
Night skiing at Alyeska. We'll be running that back again. And then, Dina, Dina's also so funny because Dina's so into AI and she was teaching.
We connected there. Yeah.
And you were teaching the stuff on the boot camp stuff. But the boot camp stuff, just because obviously you're very dedicated to becoming a trial lawyer, even if you haven't got to trial yet, but you're very dedicated in the training of becoming a trial lawyer. And as I've commented to you, the most confident trial lawyer I know who haven't done a trial yet, which is really great because the biggest part of the trial lawyer is the confidence. And most people have to go accomplish great things before they get confidence. Very few people can actually train and will themselves into confidence, true confidence, prior to they getting there. But how do you think, the things that you learned at the boot camp, as far as, obviously connection and the skills on cross, how are those helping you along your journey to become a trial lawyer?
My favorite thing about TLU compared to other trainings I've done is I get criticized. And I'm being serious about that. I've gone to these trainings, whether it's the NELA trial boot camp or whatever, and because I've done politics, and my dad was a single dad, and so I started going to Toastmasters with him when I was 10 in a group full of adults and doing the, tell him what you're going to tell him, and tell him what you told him, starting at 10. I remember my 10th, when I ran for 4th grade class secretary, and I remember saying, Mr. Wagner, fellow classmates, and did a microconnect. Didn't even know it was a microconnect then. So I was a natural. And so, and having done politics for a long time and in competitive swing districts, so lots of debates and town halls and stuff. And so when I've gone to these, because let's be frank, most lawyers and most politicians, people are shitty public speakers.
Terrible.
And so because I was just not shitty and had some natural talent, I would go to these trainings and I would just get, oh, wow, you're so good. You're so good. And that's not what and I'm not saying that's a brag. I'm saying I genuinely have some natural talent. I am not great.
No,
I went to TLU and you didn't give me a single compliment. And it was honestly, I was like, oh, this is the place, because this place can actually take me from some natural talent to being exceptional at this. And the analogy I've given to a lot of people when I've told them about TLU is, my son's a baseball kid, so it's a baseball analogy, but it's let's say you have a kid that is 13 and just naturally just has some great torque and just can throw, 85 as a 13-year-old, right, as a pitcher. But he's doing some things that he's never going to throw 95 because there's some weird mechanics. And then he has a trainer that comes along and says, we're going to break that down and we're going to change what you're doing. And for a while, you're only going to throw, 77, 76, right? And that feels like he's stepping backwards. But then when he fixes those mechanics and then that burns into his muscle memory, then he's going to be able to, throw 95, 100 at some, in high school. And that's how I feel about TLU is I was the kid that was like, yeah, I've got some natural talent. And then we break it down and it's awkward and it doesn't feel as good as just getting up there and doing it naturally. But I'm trusting the process. And I know that there will be a point at which I would have hit a ceiling of ability to connect with a jury and judges and all the people that you have to connect with in this work that I won't hit now because I'm willing to be criticized and be broken down and be told that I'm not great. And I really appreciate that with all sincerity.
Well, you're welcome. And
you're welcome. You're welcome.
no, I mean,
I know it's good.
Well,
I'm glad you're.
I'm not here to make people feel good. I'm here to hopefully make people winners.
Yeah.
And winning feels good. The work you have to do to become a winner, it's never been fun. It doesn't matter what you're doing. That's why it takes discipline. That's why it takes, sacrifice. That's why it's called, doing the hard things because it's not fun. It's like I got to Zoom at 5:00 today and, they want to reschedule it because of the game. I'm like, how's the game going to make you a trial lawyer? I said, well, let's move it to 4:30 and that way you can miss a half an hour of the game.
USA.
No, I'm
watching the game at 5 o'clock.
Of course. But still.
The soccer game, the FIFA soccer game, by the way. To make these evergreen, we got to say like the FIFA World Cup, what is it, the round of 16?
Yes.
Soccer game against Belgium.
Oh, you mean evergreen, so it's relevant.
Right, so somebody's listening to this a year from now, will know what game we're talking about.
All right, well, when you and Stephen King talk about the Claude and
God, that'll be so irrelevant a year from now.
No, but it will be funny though, because like that's the exciting part. Because I'm really stoked about that fact that we're going to do our first AI conference. In February. I think I have scheduled for 18th and 19th.
Well, first we're doing a boot camp.
Well, I know we are
August 17th and 18th here in Hermosa Beach.
Hermosa Beach, that's right. But I'm just saying though, because like, I'm not very sophisticated to say the least when it comes to technology and AI yet. I realize that I need to be. I can only hide under the rock of AI ignorance for so long. And so I'm going to step into it with my friend. And I figured once I saw Stephen King step into it, I said, if Stephen King can do it, I can certainly do it. I mean,
all you got to have is curiosity and imagination. That's honestly what it takes to get into AI. Curiosity and imagination, and then just try
curiosity and imagination. But also, you really taken a strong interest in what's the right word I'm looking for? The discipline of listening and studying the TLU on demand.
Oh, yes.
Right, because the boot camps give you the skills, but on demand is where you can learn the strategies of a trial lawyer, which you need both skills and strategies.
Here's what I love about the app, the TLU app, is you can... So I first went on it because I just searched for the name David D. Robertus and then watched literally every single thing. I told you about this, that my 9-year-old daughter would be in the car and because I would just, all I listened to, and she'd be like, is this D. Robertus again? Like my 9-year-old just knew who this person was. We listened to just hours. And then I went and listened to everything Bernard Alexander had. And then I went and listened to everything Satch Oliver had. And then I went to listen to everything Joe Freed had, the speed trial and the depositions are trial methodology. Met both of them at TLU Beach and had like a LA fangirl moment and made ridiculous work of myself. But, it felt like meeting people that were, the $2 million settlement we got, a little while ago would not have happened without Joe Freed because the court was saying, they said, hey, if you need more than 6 days for trial, then we're gonna need to bump you out several months. And the pressure was on at that point. And so we said, no, we can do this in 6 days. So we went in and I built it all out and literally just binging Joe Freed stuff. And because we were able to set the trial, we settled, like you do, for $2 million the Monday before trial. And so that, so I was able to tell him that and thank him. But yeah, I love that. I love the app because you're able to look for exactly what you're looking for. I'm an employment lawyer, so a lot of what's on there isn't directly relevant. If it's very big truck specific or if it's very TBI specific. So I'm able to go on there and find the employment lawyers, D. Robertus and Alexander and George Moskopoulos, and search everything he's done as well. And then I'm able to go and find the specific skills that I want. So I was able to just search for speed trial or depositions. And Philip Miller, he just put a bunch of good stuff on there that's new that I'm starting to listen to. So Philip. I like how you can search. It's a very searchable app, which I appreciate that. For what is it, like $100 a month or something, $150 a month? It truly is an extraordinary value. I'm not saying that just you're not paying me for this, but it is a great value for the stuff that you get to learn.
I'm paying you indirectly by helping you.
True, yes.
Big results.
The currency of confidence.
The currency of confidence and big results to follow it.
The currency of criticism, because you'll keep criticizing me and making me better. That's a currency.
Yeah, occasionally there's a compliment in there, but only when it's appropriate.
Yeah.
Because that way everybody can tell too. Otherwise, if you compliment people falsely, then you're full of shit.
Yep.
And we are not full of shit around here. That's no fun. That's no fun at all. And so we are going to do your and your partner,
Matthew.
Matthew.
If you call him Matt, he's going to call you Daniel. So that is the
That's okay.
that's the trade-off.
I'm okay with Matthew. Okay, Matthew. and so that's going to be August 17th and 18th.
Yeah, we're going to do a 2-day Claude Bootcamp. And just to kind of put it in perspective what you can do in 2 days, my brother, who is very, very smart, to be clear, I'm not saying that, somebody like my brother can do this, because he's actually very smart, but he's never gone to college and not computer savvy at all. He started his own fleet services business. He's been a diesel mechanic for 30 years, set up his own fleet service business out in Eastern Washington about 8 months ago. And about 3 months ago, I went down and just spent 1 day with him. I was like, you've got to learn Claude, because this is going to, for anybody running a small business, for doing any kind of enterprise. And so I spent 1 day with him and then checked in with him again. I saw him again maybe 3 weeks ago, and he is running everything via Claude. And this is somebody we had to literally go to Best Buy and buy a computer. That's how, he's not, he was running everything off his phone, so he had to go to Best Buy and buy a laptop, literally. So that's how not tech savvy he was. And he is running everything by Claude, completely gets it. It's sending out invoices for him and checking emails for him and routing. I mean, it rewrote his entire website. He canceled his website guy that was charging him $1,500 a month. So that's what we did in 1 day with my brother, who is very, very smart, but not tech savvy. And he'd be the first to tell you that, with 1 day and running a diesel mechanic. And I'm saying, if we get in here with lawyers, and this is the work that I do every day, running, over 200 cases as the only lawyer on my team, but running it with AI, responsibly with AI. That always has to be the caveat. And we're going to teach people to do that. And so if we can do that with my brother in 1 day, a diesel mechanic who's now honestly doing more with Claude than anybody I know except me. I mean, truly, he's mastered it. Think of what we can do with a group of lawyers if we have 2 days.
I can't wait to hear about it. With that being the case, I'm going to step out.
All right.
We're going to take a break here. Stephen King. Matthew, please take over.
June 2nd through 5th, 2027. Join all of us back at TLU Beach at the Paseo Hotel. We're going to have more learning and fun than ever before. We're going to have 6 lecture tracks, 8 workshop tracks. We're going to have a golf outing. We're going to have theme parties, dinner parties every night, the Satchel Wild West party, the 80s tracksuit dinner party, followed by the 80s tracksuit pool party, and finally we're going to finish it all off with the après-ski rooftop party. So if you want new friends, you want great food, and you want great learning and change your life, join us at TLU Beach.
Hey, switching lanes, welcome back. I'm Stephen King. I'm a trial lawyer from Los Angeles. Background on me is Dan and I met when he moved from Michigan to California. He was shifting from criminal law to civil, and so was I. So we met through a mutual friend named Nick Rowley. But today we're here to talk about everything AI with Shemia and Matthew. I mean, they do AI at a very, very high level. So Shemia, why don't you tell us a little bit about what we're going to be talking about today?
Well, first of all, congratulations. I hear it's your first time hosting one of the TLU podcasts. So give him some love in the comments.
Here we go.
Some Stephen King love. So I am a trial lawyer as well. I do employment law with the nationwide law firm HKM Employment Attorneys. I've been with them for 11 years, and I manage their 4 Northern California offices and their Boise, Idaho office. But I live in Oregon, so I also practice in Oregon. And so that's kind of how I come to this. Very excited to talk about AI. And Matthew, my partner in life and also in AI love, do you want to give a little bit of a background of what brings you here? Non-lawyer, but AI architect.
Yeah, I am not a lawyer, don't have any legal training whatsoever, did not go to law school. I aspired to, did not get past the I took the LSAT, but I didn't do anything with it.
All right.
Long time ago. And like Shemia said, I am her partner in life, and jumped into trying to wrap my head around and really getting interested in how to utilize AI, specifically Claude, around the same time she did earlier this year.
Yeah, I was going to ask, who started first? Was it Shemia's idea and you jumped in? She's like the leader, right?
Well, so I was engaging on a Friday night in my guilty pleasure in life, which is TikTok. I will occasionally, don't have any social medias, but man, that is addicting. And so I will occasionally download the app. I can't even have it on my phone because it's so addicting. Right. But I will occasionally download it if like there's no new episodes of a show we're watching, if the kids are at our co-parents' house, I'll be like, you know what, I'm gonna go on TikTok. So I'm downloading TikTok on a Friday night, and just however the algorithm hit me, this is late February, right? Yeah. And I think Claude Cowork, which we're going to talk about why that distinction is important today, Claude Cowork had just launched, I think, in like early January. And so my algorithm is just feeding me this stuff and just AI and some cool like humanitarian issues with AI, right? All the like very complicated stuff, but it starts talking about this Claude Cowork. I've been using AI, I've been using Eve Legal and, Chat GPT and stuff in my practice, but Claude Cowork sounded really different because it can go onto your computer and work with documents, and it can go onto Google Chrome and actually function as you. And I woke up the next morning and I had the pain in the ass thing that I hate doing, that everybody that runs or operates in any kind of business hates doing, which is expense reports. So anyway, so I'm always on the firm's accountant, like, for the people that have not done their expense reporting yet, and it's holding up the entire firm, nationwide firm, right? So I'm on this every month. So I wake up on Saturday morning and I have to go do my expense report.
It's like the thing you hate to do. God. Saturday morning.
Oh my God. We want to be trial lawyers, we want to be talking to juries, and we're doing expense reports, right? So I literally sit down and I think, what if this Claude Cowork thing I heard about last night could do this for me? And so that was my, camel's nose under the tent, whatever they call it. And I just started showing it how to take the receipts that were in a certain folder, update them, upload them to our, accounting website that we use, and built what I learned later was called a skill. Didn't even know what that was. And was immediately hooked and spent the entire weekend going deep into Claude. I think I talked to you either that night.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
And by you built all of your email triage that first weekend, I think, and had all of that running within 48 hours of jumping in.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now, email triage, that's sort of like, what does that mean?
Well, I mean, she'll give you more details, but essentially you're connecting your Claude Cowork to your email service, right? If it's through Outlook or Gmail, you're going to allow them to talk to each other, and you're going to tell it what it can do. You're going to give the permissions on if it can only read, that's fine. If it can sort them, how you want them to be sorted, and if you want it to draft responses. Wow. And Shemia, and definitely my advice is you don't ever let it send. You always review everything before it goes out. But it'll do all of that. And I mean, it can be much more, the scope of it is huge, right? I mean, it just works constantly and quickly. Right. And so I asked Shemia yesterday as we were talking about coming down here for this, ballpark figure, how many drafts does it create a week? Easily 300, she said.
Yeah.
Wow.
Oh, yeah.
Now, is it better for people to get used to doing it in their personal life and then kind of baby step it? Or you think it's okay to just dive right in it and start using it for like your calendar and work?
Well, I think it's just whatever your pain point is. For me, it was literally those damn expense reports. Like, I don't know that I would not be here today. I would be still using little things the way that I did if it weren't for those expense reports. So kind of finding the pain point of what is the thing that you are spending so much time doing that you don't want to do, that if you had an intern, a smart but doesn't know anything about the law intern, that you could sit next to you and train, what would you do? And you and I have connected over AI. How are you using it? What got you into it?
I love it because it goes through all my depositions and sort of like sorts out what I missed and follow-up questions, but then it lets me use it in interrogatories. So what I really like is it thinks about the next step up. Like, so I feel like I'm not missing a beat when I use AI.
Yeah.
It's great. Like if you just spend some time with it, it feels like it's covering you as opposed to you covering it.
Yep.
I'm so used to covering for everybody. I got exhausted.
Yeah.
So it's just like you freeing up time on your Saturday. You guys can go out, have a date or something like that.
Oh no, I spent the entire weekend with Claude.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay.
We begin to call Claude the third person in our relationship.
So
no,
you added
mutual
another
mutual
reason.
love. Yeah.
So now we listen to the same podcast. We shared
Oh my
YouTubers
gosh.
that we
Brought you guys
watching.
together.
Well, it's just, there's so much to learn. It's evolving so quickly, right? And just trading information, what worked, what didn't, why it worked the way it did, that sort of stuff, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's been really, I think it's transformational technology.
Yeah.
And it can change a lot.
And
Like
it
you
just
said,
keeps
personal
getting
life
better and
professional
better and
life.
better.
Yeah.
And like
It
you said
really
in the
does.
beginning, you had to like put all these skills and all these prompts, and now it almost like self-prompts itself.
Yeah, I mean, I think the two things that if somebody's going to be open to AI, not everybody is, and that's okay. Not every lawyer, I mean, I know lawyers that won't go on public Wi-Fi because I'm like, that's fine, whatever. Everyone has their own risk aversion. But for those that are tuning into this podcast, because like they're going to be AI curious, right? And so I think that the biggest things you can bring are curiosity and imagination. Because when somebody says to me, what can it do? I literally tell them, imagine if you had an intern sitting next to you and saying, okay, I'm going to show you how to submit my expense reports because I hate doing it. You're going to do it for me. Or I'm going to show you how to sort my email. Or I'm going to show you how to check my schedule so you can tell me when I'm available for the next 60 days for an 8-hour deposition. And you teach, just like you would teach a person sitting there, you're teaching the computer anything that a person could do on a computer, you can teach Claude to do on a computer. I think that's, like when you really get your head around that, I think that's the big piece. When I was flying here today, I was trying to think of a way to explain to somebody that doesn't quite know the difference between, I've been chatting with ChatGPT and, why should I use Claude Cowork? Because Claude has a chat feature, right? So there is a Claude chat, which is probably, for all intents and purposes, similar to what people experience with ChatGPT. But then there's the Cowork function. And I think the big example I could give, because lawyers will get this, right? And you'll get this, is King, if you were going to sue a new company and you had to find who their registered agent was for serving the lawsuit, what would your first step be?
California Secretary of State.
So you'd Google California Secretary of State, right? And then what would you do?
And then I'd click and I'd go to businesses and search the business.
And you'd type in, exactly.
Sure would.
So just yesterday, right? I also practice in California. So I was sending a demand letter and I just said, Claude, find the registered agent for this employer. And instead of me Googling it and then I have to click, it went in, goes on the California Secretary of State website. I'm doing other stuff. I'm hanging out. It goes in, it types in the name. It then does and you can even tell it and then download a PDF of that into the folder. So now we have the PDF document. How different is that than Googling Secretary of State? You clicking. I just said, Claude, go find the registered agent. And it found it clicked through, it typed in the name that's on the, W-2s that I have in the file, right? Because I do employment law. And then it pulled that for me and then downloaded into the file a PDF of that from the California Secretary of State website. That's
beautiful.
Right? And I was off doing other stuff. I spent about 30 seconds just giving it a prompt.
Wow. And how confident are you when you walk away that it's going to be there when you get back?
It's
got to be, right? Yeah. Like it never lets you down.
Right.
It hasn't let me down yet, knock on wood.
Well, what she's doing that she definitely mentioned, but is really what one of the things we highlight in the class coming up, right? Is how do you know to trust the information that it's giving you? And what she said is, give me the PDF, right? Give me the actual document that if I went and did it myself, I would download the same thing. Because that's what you're going to, again, I'm not a lawyer, I'm not giving legal advice, I'm not telling a lawyer how to do your jobs, but you always want to check your sources. Everything that Claude gives you that is in any way relevant, like you're going to use, that's going to help you make a decision, it's going to be something you communicate to others, and they need to have the right information, you need to check your source. And one way to do that is to get the PDF. Or if it's a page citation off a web page, hyperlink.
So it'll go and get the source and then pull the source down for you.
Because you told it to.
Oh, because you told it to.
All I said was just, hey, give me the registered agent for this business. I literally just said the name of the business, right? And I also gave it the file. So it was able to, if I had not said the business correctly, it would have gone in and found the W-2. Again, it's doing this while I happen to be working and doing other stuff, but it's just kind of off doing this thing. When Claude is working, and we'll have to show this on a visual right here on the podcast, but I call it the orange ghost. So when it's working in Google Chrome, because you have to have, the Google has to be your search engine. I'm assuming they'll eventually have Safari and others, but for right now it's Google. So Google Chrome, when you add the Claude plugin, when it literally goes in and starts working, there'll be this orange haze around the web page. But here's what's cool. If you ever had somebody do maintenance on your computer where they come in and they do a virtual machine and they come in, right? But then they take over your mouse and you can't do anything on your computer. Right. That's not what Claude does. So I'm still off using my mouse working on my computer while I then see the orange ghost over, and I can be in a different Google, I can be in a different Google Chrome page. I'm still working in Google Chrome. I'm just in a different tab or on a different window. And it's in Westlaw pulling jury verdicts. It's in Westlaw pulling down cases, right? Because again, bringing those PDFs, like Matthew said, right? Being able to verify, and that's true whether we're lawyers or we're diesel mechanics, right? You want to have verified, correct information that Claude's working from.
Claude, the Orange Ghost.
The Orange
You hear
Ghost.
that? And you guys we actually got a seminar coming up, or a webinar in August.
A boot camp.
Oh, it's
An in-person boot camp. Yeah.
In-person boot camp. TLU.
Yep. Here in Hermosa Beach, where lawyers are going to come here. They're limiting it to 13 seats, so folks shouldn't sign up right away.
Sign up right away.
Yeah. But we're going to be able to take lawyers in all of this space, and some of it will be sending you off and saying, okay, go teach Claude to do your expense reports or triage your email or whatever it is. So it's not going to be them sitting here just listening to us talk. They're going to have their laptops they're going to learn how to teach it a skill.
Wow.
Because once I realized, I could teach it to do my expense reports, curiosity and imagination. Yeah. Wow. And I was like, it can do so much.
Take you anywhere.
And I want to go through that today. So we actually, Claude helped us come up with an acronym.
Okay.
Because this is a podcast and it's hard to talk about computer stuff right, on a podcast. So the acronym we're going to go through today, thanks to Claude, is the word trial.
Trial.
Right, because this is about not teaching diesel mechanics how to use Claude. This is not even how to teach lawyers how to use Claude. This is how to have trial lawyers, right? How do we use these tools to help us actually do the stuff we want to be doing that AI can't replace, which is connecting with people, talking to juries, right? Building those human skills that AI can't replace.
That's right.
And so the acronym is TRIAL, and that is, we're going to walk through ideas for triage, research, intake, advocacy, and learning. So I'll give a couple of examples in each.
Okay.
All right. So triage, Matthew mentioned it, but we're all drowning in email. I mean, how many emails do you say? If I open, if we won't because it's, attorney-client privilege, if we open King's email inbox right now, how many emails did you say are in there?
Over 1,000 are still open, but just today I probably got about 179.
Yeah. That's very
rough
specific.
number, 179.
Before we got on the podcast,
yes, exactly. Right. And so we're drowning in emails. And of those even 179 that you got today, how many actually need your attention?
3 maybe.
Okay.
Yeah. So
what I did, as Matthew mentioned, I'm in the same boat. We're all in the same boat. And even folks in their personal life are in the same boat, right? So I told Claude, and when I say I built this, literally what I mean is I just set it into the prompt bar. Like that's
talk to it.
Yeah, you just literally talk to it.
Yeah, you say this is what I want to accomplish.
Yeah.
And you can literally have it ask you questions like, how do I get from what I want to do to the finished product?
Wow.
Ask me the questions to get there.
Yeah, like just have it ask you questions.
You tell it, this is what I want to do. And then you tell it, tell me the questions you need to know to help me get there.
Right.
Yep.
Awesome.
So I use Outlook for my email. And if folks use a Gmail-based email, it's actually easier and connects better with Claude because of connectors, right?
Yeah.
So do you want to kind of explain?
There's just a protocol that's been developed that Claude, I think Anthropic, the company behind Claude, I believe they developed it, but it's become industry standard for how your AI tool can talk to other services, email, Slack, Granola. There's a lot of them. I mean, there's hundreds that you can go in and find depending on what you're wanting to do. You can connect financial tools to it to some extent, and other anything that you're using. If you can't, you can also build that same connection. And I don't think we'll get into that in August, maybe next February. I think there's a bigger TLU AI conference happening.
February 18th through 21st, 2027. It's the Philip Miller Advanced Deposition College. Philip is gathering some of the greatest trial lawyers in the country to teach with him, small group format. It's gonna be limited to 90 participants. It's gonna be back at the Paseo Hotel in Huntington Beach. So if you wanna ramp up your deposition skills, get registered today. TrialLawyersUniversity.com.
And so it has a relationship, obviously, with Google, right? It's why it goes to Google Chrome. So I think of it as like back door versus front door. So if it has a connector, it can kind of go through like this, like the VIP entrance, right?
Okay.
I have Microsoft Outlook, our firm does. So it does not have that relationship yet with Microsoft. So we have to go in through the front door. Okay. But again, anything that I can do on a computer, Claude can do. So when I use Microsoft Outlook, it actually has to go through my Google Chrome. So the orange ghost has to show up. If you have a Gmail or a Google-based email, you actually don't need to go, the ghost will not need to show up because it will actually go in through like the back door. So that's just the difference between connectors. But again, it doesn't mean you can't do it. It's just whether it has to go in through the orange ghost. And so I literally said to Claude, and I mean literally said to Claude, I use WhisperFlow, so held down the button and said, hey, I want to triage my emails. I'm just drowning in them. And so I just said, hey, look through my email inbox. At that point, I'm probably sitting on several hundred as well. And I said, categorize for me what you see. What emails do I have?
And it'll ask you too.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't decide the categories, right? It's going to say, okay, I'm seeing 30 of them that I think belong in this bucket. Do you agree?
Right.
If not, tell me
Yeah.
what. You know, give me a different name for it, or say, nope, rethink it, and this is how I want you to rethink it.
Right.
Right. It'll go through that.
So it's like an
process.
interactive process.
Yeah. So if you think about it, AI is a pattern recognizer, right? So it recognizes I have a bunch of emails from like TLU and NELA, the National Employment Lawyers, CELA, the California Employment Lawyers, right? But those aren't emails that need my attention, right? And so it's like, oh, you have these. And then it saw that I'm in the CC line of a bunch of emails. We're like, yeah, you know, my paralegal or my team CCs me, but I'm not needing to respond to that. And then there were some emails that I'm actually in the to line or as addressed to me.
Or it's Shemia.
Yes, exactly.
In all caps.
Exactly. Oh my God. Those are only from King when they have all caps exclamation point. And so it said, okay, this is the different patterns I see. And so then, you know, again, a dialogue back and forth. And then I said, okay, well, how do I triage these? So it recommended, hey, first of all, it said I should never delete anything. I said, I agree. So it created a folder in my Outlook called Archived by Claude. And then we created a folder called Ready for Claude, which is basically emails that I actually can just give to Claude and it knows what to do with. Downloading certain forms, put like, you know, you get e-filing update, for example, it needs to go in the file. Do I need to be the one to, no, Claude can save it as a PDF, download it, boom, put it in the file like that.
Yep.
And then now I have a box called emails awaiting response, which actually needs my eyes on it. You would have 3, right? You'd have 3.
And I'd be sitting here smiling.
Oh yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. And so that skill, so I built this skill. And again, just like I could sit an intern here and say, oh, here's how I want you to sort my email. But then unlike an intern, I can go, oh, and I want you to do it every 2 hours.
Right.
And so it's just constantly, while I'm here, it's literally doing that.
And you don't have to remind it.
Yeah, no, you just set it on a certain timer.
And it doesn't take days off.
No. Well, here's the thing. So it doesn't take days off, but you do have to have your computer on.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, you can run scheduled tasks in the cloud.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can. There are some things if it doesn't need to
If it doesn't need to go to the Orange Ghost, but I have
if
to
it doesn't
for my
have
email.
to be looking at information that comes from you, like a file. It can do email triage in the middle of the night with your laptop closed.
Wow.
Right? So you wake up and you've got everything ready to go, and you can dive in. A lot of people do create like a morning brief. That's part of it is triage my email first. Look at my calendar, tell me what's coming up. And then give me a morning brief so when I sit down, open
So
you
you
up.
can scope your emails and kind of prioritize them.
Yeah.
Say the ones you gotta look at before you get out the door.
Yeah.
You could just say, hey, these are 3 that are important.
Yeah.
Do you want to send this email I've already drafted or not?
Yeah, no, that's the thing is it will actually draft. So for me, because I have Outlook, if you have Gmail, it's different. If you have a Gmail base, if I could do it all over again, I would have a Gmail base just for this right here, but I don't. So because I have to use the Orange Ghost, so I have to literally have my computer on, and I have to have Chrome open, and I have to be logged into my Microsoft Outlook. But I just do that before I leave my desk at night, and then I just have a setting to where my laptop or my computer just stays on. Like it's home in Oregon right now, but it is on, it is awake, and it is triaging my email every 3 hours. So it does do it for me all night.
I hear the Claude ding.
Do you really?
All the time. No, yeah,
From our home
100%.
office.
Yeah.
There's
She's
no special
gone.
ding?
She'll be gone. She'll be gone on
We
a work
love
trip.
the ding.
And
We love
I hear
Claude.
Claude talking.
Wow.
Yeah. So that's a quick triage one.
Yeah.
And it is quick. I think if that was all that we were helping 13 lawyers get through in August, honestly, I'm not wanting to oversell this, but that's worth the cost to attend, right?
Yeah.
Because of how much time you free up on a weekly basis.
Yeah.
And what that time means for you as a lawyer in terms of at the end of the day, what it means for your clients in the settlement, the jury verdict, whatever it is that you resolve that case,
right? You
saved how many hours a week?
Yeah. And even just
Compounding.
the attitude. I'm always so much happier when I know I can get to my good emails first.
Yeah.
Or, it's just like
The
I'm
mental
not as anxious.
space.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
For me, it's just like, so I don't have so much anxiety going into it. I know what to expect already.
Yep.
Right.
Like that's worth a lot.
Well, and also it's not just the triaging of the emails in terms of sorting them, it's the responding to them, right? So when you get an email, let's say you're engaged in settlement negotiations with opposing counsel, right? And in my business, right, just like most settlement, right, the first several emails back and forth are fact heavy, and at a certain point you just get into numbers, right? But in those first 3 to 5 emails back and forth that are fact heavy, before, I'm like, oh God, how am I going to respond to this? Oh geez, so it sits there because you don't want to dig in. Now I can give Claude that file,
right,
and give that opposing counsel's email and it's like, oh yeah, no, they ignored this and this date, and suddenly you have a draft that you can go back at. So instead of having to wait weeks to respond to opposing counsels, well, I have time to go through everything. I give Claude that file and I say, here's what opposing counsel said. What should we concede? Right? What should we push back on? What documents do we have? What should I email the client and ask documents? Draft an email for me to the client. Right? So it's that just quick, and that's happening from either a prompt or an automated thing.
Right.
Again, never sending it out. I think Matthew mentioned that earlier. For me, that's super important. As a lawyer, when it's not a Rule 11 thing technically, but it isn't ethically, right? When someone gets an email that is my name and my signature, whether it's opposing counsel, my client, the court, they should be able to trust that I have either written that or adopted the information in it. And so I never have Claude ever send anything. I'm always putting my eyes on it. Usually I'm deleting a thing or two, right? Making it mine and then sending it out. But to have that information instead of having to sit there and, I don't know when I have time to go through that. Opposing counsel's, this happened and this happened. And it's like, what do I have to be able to go through that? It can happen like that while I'm, eating lunch.
Sometimes it's so smart. It knows the person like third move. Because it'll say, do you want to say this right now? And I'll be like, no. And it's almost like, well, you'll want to say it later. And then like the fifth or the sixth email is like, oh yeah, that's right. Glad you reminded me.
Yeah.
That's what Shemia's also been sharing with me, as like I said, we were talking about what is everything we want to communicate in the podcast, is how much more information her emails contain back to her clients.
Oh my gosh.
Because it's seen, right? It's seen the prior communications. It maybe it has some files that the client has sent. And so it is to some amount it's tracking and can give that update. So which you wouldn't do without that assistant, right? You would just answer the question or the minimum needed to respond to that email so that you can move on to the next email. But it has more information, which the client really appreciates.
It sort of senses what the clients want.
Yeah.
And so when those new things come in, it's like, hey, Shemia, you want me to remind the client of this? You're like, oh yeah, I forgot she would really want to know that. Oh, she would want to know that too.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, your client's getting the information they want.
They're getting better service. I think there's so much resistance to AI that we're suddenly going to become cold and mechanical towards our clients. If I could survey how my clients felt in the last 90 days compared to how my clients have felt for the last 11 years, they're getting more information. And this is something we will teach in the Bootcamp. It's August 17th and 18th. But it's not giving generic, like if I send an email from my AI and you send an email from your AI, mine is not going to sound like yours because I've actually done the work to give it my writing samples. And because I was in politics and public speaking before, I have a lot of interviews and speeches out there. I had to go find all of that and create what is the pattern?
What's your voice?
How does Shemia Fagan talk? And so before, my clients would get, I think, a little bit of a chasm between how they saw my writing, because what have we all done? We take an old demand letter, you right? Because you're trying to get stuff out the door. You're trying to serve these folks. I mean, your clients and my clients have a hard time waiting 2 to 3 years. I have clients sometimes that just lost the job, don't know where their next rent check's coming from. They want to resolve this quickly, right? So how do I serve them more efficiently? So I'm serving them more efficiently, but better, because now that the AI has the patterns of how I communicate, it's actually writing in that voice. And so it sounds like me. When I read it, I'm like, man, that sounds like me. Just the way that I speak, both in my oral presentations. And so it's giving them information. Like Matthew said, I may respond if they say, hey, has my complaint been filed yet? Yeah, got it. It was filed June 17th. That's what I might have responded before. Now the AI will be like, yes, it was filed June 17th in Santa Clara County Court, and the defendants have until July. The defendants have, we've attempted service 3 times with the process server and are still working on serving them. Once they're served, they're going to have 30 days to respond. I would never have gone through and found that information to respond to a quick, has my complaint been filed yet? But because Claude can bring that information up in a second, that client is getting, they're attempting service, they're avoiding service, or it's been served and their response is due X. I would not have looked through the file to get them all that information. That's not what they asked me when I read it. But Claude realized, because I also have told Claude, like, hey, most of my clients are non-lawyers, right? They are folks that break this down, make this non-complicated, use good metaphors. And so it will speak in my voice, but make sure that I'm actually communicating with our clients. So I think email triage is one huge one.
Communicating better, giving them better service.
They're getting better service more efficiently.
And keeping a good relationship with your clients, because Lord knows, like 3 or 4 months, your clients haven't heard from you. They're pretty upset.
Oh, yeah.
So this helps all the way around.
So that's, I think, the big one is triage. We're obviously all drowning in email.
Yeah.
And so I think that's the T of trial is triage. Triage. All right. So T is going to go on the screen as a T.
Wait, Matthew, you got to do it. T.
1, 2, 3. T for trial. Okay, it was like the Sesame Street but was swearing.
Not time out.
Sesame Street was swearing and lawyers. This is perfect.
Let's do it.
Okay, so R
The
is
letter of today.
There we go. The letter of today is also R. For research, right? And this is a place where I think every lawyer that hears this right now, what do you think of? The people that have been sanctioned.
Yep.
Right? The lawyer, I mean, somebody's got a $110,000 sanction
That's crazy.
the other day, right? So there's a fear in having AI do any research.
Yeah.
So are we saying that you should just plug your information into AI, have it spit out a brief and file it? No. Obviously not. That's not responsible AI use. That's not responsible for lawyers or for diesel mechanics or for bakery owners or for Matthew works in the nonprofit world. Like, that is not responsible for anybody.
Yeah.
But does that mean we can't use it at all for research?
Of course we can.
Yeah, of course we can use it.
You
Right?
know, even if your paralegal does something, you're going to look it up and make
Right.
sure she cited the right case.
Right.
That's what I do.
And so one thing that I love is, again, and we'll repeat this a lot, but anything that you can do on a computer, Claude can do. So I can say, hey, Claude, go on Westlaw. And like, so let's say opposing counsel sends me a brief. I can give Claude that brief and say, hey, Claude, go on Westlaw and pull every case cited by opposing counsel as a PDF and download it into this. Right? It will pull up Microsoft, or excuse me, it'll pull up Google Chrome. The orange ghost will appear because it's a login site, right? It will prompt me to log into Westlaw. I will log in, and then I will see the mouse start clicking around. It will go to the research bar. It will pull every case, download it as a PDF.
Because you have Westlaw on your computer.
Yeah, exactly.
Then by asking Claude to do it, it's not like Claude's going to the internet and making up its own stuff.
Right.
It's going into your computer, using
You can
your
watch
resource,
it.
watching it. You see the little orange cloud go in there.
The
type
ghost.
the ghost.
The ghost.
And then search just like you would, and then come back and kind of organize it and then
Yeah,
present
you just tell
to
it, put it in this folder.
I don't see any problem with that.
No, and
That's
so then
just having ghost fingers.
But then also, it's like, okay, and then you can tell it, hey, shepherdize these cases. See any contrary authority, or these are my facts. Go onto Westlaw and find me cases, right? And then again, download them as PDFs or hyperlink to them. Like Matthew said, I'm not just having it come up with cases, right? And it just so you know, it is getting better. Still, Rule 11, always check everything, always.
Yeah.
But it is getting better. The scare stories of a year ago of AI just straight hallucinating, even 6 months ago, is like somebody saying, oh, I'm not going to drive because I once drove a Model T and it didn't go over 60, so I won't take this Tesla, right? Look, they're very different. And the AI of 6 months ago is different than the AI of today, particularly with the ability for it to go into things. You can have it do jury research or verdict research.
Wow.
Oh, I'm going into a mediation. You could look in LA County.
Yeah.
Boom, find me comparable. Here's my facts, Claude. Go into Westlaw and find me jury verdicts from an LA jury that are emotional distress verdicts or pain and suffering verdicts, right? And then download those PDFs for me.
Definitely.
Right.
Definitely. Even like sometimes a particular judge you have, how does this judge rule on these particular types of issues? Can you go through?
Anything that you can find on Westlaw, Claude can go find on Westlaw.
Judges like a lot better. They're
or
like, hey, Mr.
Lexis
King,
or whatever,
you're doing your homework now. So
exactly.
It just got easier, Judge.
Exactly. Well, in that example, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say that example of research, another way to do research is, unfortunately, probably you less than me, but we go to arbitration sometimes. Damn mandatory arbitration agreements. I'm in, a handful of them right now. And we have to go to arbitration. So the first step is you have to agree, you have to give the list, the strike list or whatever. So the, JAMS or AAA gives you the list, right? And you got this list of a dozen people, right? Well, now I'm a CELA member, California Employment Lawyers, right? So I can, hey, Claude, here's the list of the arbitrators. I'm going to log into CELA. You go search all the message boards. And this is in a logged in site, CELA, right? And find me and create my strike list based on commentary from other California employment lawyers.
That's awesome.
And if you don't find anything on anybody, then obviously flag that and say, oh, I didn't find anything on so-and-so. But how much quicker is that? Again, these things that we sit in our inbox because it's going to take you how long to create your strike list. Boom, I get mine out in a day.
Wow.
Now, opposing counsel still takes 2 months. But like I get mine out right away. Here's my strike list because it went into a source I trust, the California Employment Lawyers Association. It searched into the message boards and found, oh, they commented, thumbs up on this person, thumbs down on this arbitrator, and boom, there's my strike list. And again, it's happening in the Orange Ghost while I'm,
That's a reliable ghost, I got to tell you.
Yeah, good ghost.
Because it knows, it goes exactly where you tell it to go.
Exactly. But it also will go into, I don't have to say, click on the search bar and go, I just say, go find this. And it will figure out how to navigate that website.
Go to the CLIN listserv, go to the calendar.
Yeah, and you have to log in. Like Matthew said, it's not going to
log into everything.
Yeah.
Okay.
And when you think of research, how great is that research?
Yeah, that's awesome.
And part of what we'll do in the class too is spend some time making sure folks are really getting a little bit under the hood on what a large language model is, right? It's a huge library of knowledge.
Got it.
Right? I mean, like we've all gotten some sense of how they're just digesting huge amounts of data. Everything that's been written that they can digitize, it's been digitized.
So it's teaching us how Claude is doing what it's doing?
Yeah, I mean, in a broad sense.
Sure,
right?
sure.
What is a large language model?
Yeah.
And the fact, or the way that works is that the searching on the web to get information or going onto a site like Westlaw, that definitely going to give you verifiable information, right? Again, hyperlinks, PDFs of some sort of source document that you can easily find on your own. Just like if you had an assistant do all this work for you before you signed off on it.
Where'd you get it from?
I've learned from living with a lawyer, right before you sign off as a lawyer that this is what you're going to submit to the court, you would check your assistant's work.
Definitely.
Right? Same thing with all of what she was describing using all those other services.
Yeah.
But also the differentiation between that work that it's doing for you and also making sure if it has done any hallucinations.
Got it.
And why it would do so.
Yes.
We'll still talk about some of that because that's the scary word
yeah.
that has the big consequences is
Right.
if you do have a hallucination that you don't catch.
Yeah.
Right? So
every lawyer's biggest fear.
I know. So that's why it's 2 days. You taught your brother in 1 day.
Yeah, exactly. But he doesn't have there's no mechanic or diesel mechanics bar association gonna sanction him.
So unpacking some of that just to give some broader context to kind of get a sense of what am I using this really, really powerful tool, but it's not omniscient.
Right.
It doesn't read your mind. So you got to know how to engage it.
Yeah.
It's going to recognize patterns. I mean, that's ultimately what it does when it's looking out there. It's going to recognize patterns.
She is describing her workflows really tightly, really quickly. And so unpacking what are the AI fluency skills that she's already become a master at when she's working with Claude.
Right.
To give it, to scope the work, to give it really tight specifics of what the output needs to be, why it needs to be like that. If there's an example of what the output needs to mirror, then you give it that. So, I mean, she's just become so good at it that she's giving really polished workflows.
Right.
Claude can help you check your sources, right? So let's say that you have a brief and there's cases cited. I will tell Claude, because now Claude has all those PDFs of the cases, right? I'll say, hey, Claude, go in to each case and highlight every case citation in the PDF and every quotation. So now, as I'm site checking, I'm not having to flip through a 19-page PDF of a case. Right. I'm going right to where Claude highlighted to check, okay, that is the check, that is the quotation check, right? So even things like that, because it can work, that's again, as we talk about the difference between ChatGPT or even Eve, which obviously I use, but in different ways, Claude can work with documents. So you can say, go to these PDFs and highlight in yellow every citation from these cases.
Right.
So then all I do is flip through, look for the yellow highlights, confirm, yep, it's this, it's page 1149. That's what it says. It's part of the holding. It's not in the dissent, right? All the things that we do to check.
Right.
But how much quicker is that than me being like, okay, looking through the PDF or doing a word search, control find. I have Claude highlight everything cited. And I've caught it a couple times, being incorrect or citing a dissent one time, right? But then you catch it because it highlighted what it was doing, right? So it's even helping, it actually makes checking the research quicker.
Now, do you have a discussion with it, about check it better next time?
I am Miranda Priestley.
Define how you discuss.
Okay.
Listen, asshole. No, I tell it that it fucks up.
Yeah.
Because again, it's not a person. It is a math
It
program. It does not have feelings. And I get to be Miranda Priestley and Devil Wears Prada to that thing. I am direct. That's not what I asked you to do, because it will push back. It will sometimes say, oh, That's a lot of work for me to click through. I'm like, yeah, dumbass. That's why I want you doing it, not me. I don't care because it's not. I'm the first to go. If AI takes over the world, and like I'm
a lover to my
I'm me. Now I'm hanging out with you. Then I'm gonna come.
Same.
No, I mean,
Please and thank you.
Yes,
yeah,
thank you.
exactly.
Please, would you mind just trying again with a different scope?
Oh my gosh,
I'm so
love
glad
it.
you asked.
That's how I talk to my actual human staff, and so I take all my aggression out on clients. It's like a mental, fitness center where I can be me. That's, I think, a great with research that we were just talking about is we're always going to check our sources. We're always going to check our citations, but having it highlight that is just another quick way because it can work in our documents.
Yeah, definitely. How about you, Matthew?
Well, the overconfidence piece of AI is when to push back. You can do it.
Like Miranda
different
Priestley.
ways.
Do you wait till the third time before you say, darn it?
That's just because it can be so convincing.
Yeah,
so convincing.
It's quick.
Yeah,
it's overwhelming. Like, oh my god, that is an amazing amount of a lot of content in 5 seconds.
Yeah,
so it must be right. It gives me that feeling of like, oh, it must be right because it did it so well and so fast and so much thoroughness. Right. So being able to really kind of learn when to start looking for hallucinations and why they're going to pop up. Is really important.
It is.
That's why having the ability to teach it some skills, and we'll start with email triage, because then you can start to see how it actually can create a lot of productivity gains, rather than jumping into something where you're trying to have a functional under the hood understanding so that you can spot when it's making mistakes.
Right. Because you're even training it as you're taking us through this triage, to the T, the R, the A, the L. And then finally we get the boot camp at the end.
Yeah.
So, I mean, this is a heck of a method.
Yeah.
Well, and I'm not a techie person. I mean, that's something that people should understand. Like, I've never coded. I don't know what. That's the thing. Is I don't want people to hear me thinking that I'm some like computer scientist. I don't know. I literally, there's times where you'll run into an error, and you know what I do? I take a screenshot and I feed it back to Claude, and I go, I ran into this error, and have it solve itself, or have it give, I named that file with too many characters. I just take a screenshot of the error, and I literally then just drag that screenshot into the chat and say, what happened here? How do I fix this?
That's great. But I think having a method is really good. And the fact that you guys have already developed one. And then everybody's
developing. We're developing. Curiosity and imagination. Yeah.
All right. So we got the T, triage. We got the R, research. Are we done with research before we move on?
Sure.
Okay.
I mean, there's obviously so much more to talk about, but we want to kind of give people a little tip. But intakes. Right. So we've all got intakes, and I mean, we're going to work together on some stuff. So intakes, and so one thing that I have done, because we get a lot, right? I run 5 offices, plus I take intakes for a 6th office with HKM. So there are weeks where I'm looking at 200. So we have a team that actually is our intake team for all of HKM, who they call, and then I get the written intake. But I mean, there's weeks where I get 200 in the written intakes, right? And so some lawyers maybe get 10. It doesn't matter, but we still have to go through our process. Well, this is a great example, and I'll have Matthew talk about what a project is in a second. That's a term of art for Claude Cowork. But you can create a project that's like, here's the kind of cases that King's Justice likes to take. I want it to be they've already been treated medically or whatever. Like, what do you do in your mind when you're evaluating a case, right? And then you can feed that into a project and say, this is the evaluation criteria you're going to use. And then when a client sends you a bunch of documents, hey, Claude, go find that email from PNC Smith, download the documents, and then review them and make me a recommendation if I should take this case, right? How much time do we spend on intakes, contingency fee lawyers, right? Which I love being, because there's so many people who could never pay somebody 20 grand, for a retainer. So we get to take people that can't afford to pay us, right? Up front. And so, but it's a lot of time to review an intake if you don't end up taking the case.
It is.
Right? And so creating a project that is, here's what King, these are the kind of cases that King takes. Here's the statutes that I look at. Here's the deadline, statute of limitations deadlines.
Definitely.
And then you can just give it the email. Or tell it to go into your Gmail or your Outlook and find that email and all the documents that person sent you, and just say, all right, run through and just tell me what your recommendation is and why.
Right. Or what documents are missing.
Yes, exactly. Or wrap me an email back to the client asking for, I need these things. I need to know when the injury was, or whatever the information is it's missing.
Definitely.
It's doing it like that. Well, you're off working on deposition prep
Right.
for another case.
Yeah, and you see,
right?
I've been starting to automate my process. So
Yeah.
if my system already knows what I'm looking for, if somebody sends in an intake and that's not included, they'll be like, well, thank you for sending your intake over. Please go ahead and forward the additional documents before it could be considered, under consideration. So it's just, rather than me telling my assistant to call back, it just tells me in and of itself.
Yeah.
If I don't get that document, I can't really move forward with the case.
Yeah.
Because I have governmental entities I'm suing, so there has to be a 6-month government claim, for example. If there isn't one, chances are I'm not taking the case.
Right, right.
So-
But if you could do that like this, instead of
Yeah.
spending an hour
Yeah.
that you may, on a case you may not take, that limits
Yep.
how many intakes we can even consider.
Yep.
Because I don't have the time to spend 10 hours a week on 10 intakes.
Yep.
Right, but if I can spend, less than an hour a week on 200 intakes, right? Because it knows what criteria I have. And then of course, if it says to accept a case, do I automatically send a fee agreement?
No.
Of course not, right? Then I'm going to look a little more closely, confirm, right? If it says reject outright, I'm going to peek at why, right? But that's something I can do now in so much less time and consider so many more people. There's so much need out there. I mean, our phones ring off the hook. So many people. There's so many people out there that need that. And so being able to evaluate that, and honestly, even in the cases that you're not taking, at least they get a response quickly. Right. So they can go look somewhere else, or go to the EEOC or some other process where they can get an investigation without a lawyer.
August 24th through 28th, Satch Oliver has come all the way from Arkansas to right here to Hermosa Beach to TLU Beach House. And we're gonna be teaching a 5-day Depositions Are Trial boot camp. You're gonna be working on your cases. Satch is gonna be working with you on your cases. So not only are you going to transform your case, but at the end of the day, it becomes a case expense because your case is going to get that much better. This program is limited to 10 participants. So if you want to come, get registered today. We'll see you right here.
Scope is up to you. Like you give it a set of instructions and the criteria, both in terms of you can work with Claude to come up with that set of instructions. The same way that we were talking about earlier of help me figure this out and ask me all the, not interrogatory in a legal sense, but it's going to ask you to help it give it the parameters and the scope.
Oh,
and
got it.
You can do the same thing for creating a project.
Right.
So it can, it's,
so even if you're like, these are the cases I like to take, and
Yep.
I like to see A, B, and C, and D.
Yep.
What question should I be asking on the
Yeah.
intake to help me get there?
Yeah. Well, it just creates kind of a silo, right? So like that project, if you create a project, for example, for intakes, it's not going to bleed over into recommending or bringing things into your other uses of Claude. It's going to be in this silo of a project. That's the kind of the beauty of a project.
and it's always going to have that context, that memory that you create via the instructions and that you work with it on it, if it's a daily project or whatever. It's always going to be able to reference what you've built inside that project.
That's
Which is a little bit different than just what happens with the chat function.
Right.
Or in a task for co-work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's where that value comes in, and the utility of these types of tools within Claude.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because you can have it just as a tool, just as a project in one specific area, and it doesn't bleed into others.
Right, because it's actually looking at the files that you provided. It's the terminology. I don't ask people to define it.
Okay.
All right, but it's spinning up a virtual machine on your computer.
Okay.
Right? It's using both the large language model in the cloud,
right?
The Claude in the cloud, the data centers, but it's also using the information that you give it the permission to see and access on your computer, specific to the project that you're working on.
Which could be just one folder.
One file.
Right? Like it doesn't have to be one file, one folder, or a bunch of folders, right? And there's obviously different people's risk profiles. Do you want to give it access to a lot of files? I mean, I tend to give it a lot of, we have and we'll talk about this at the very end, which is important to make sure you're using the paid version of Claude, not the free version, for protecting attorney client privilege. And that's incredibly important. So everyone has to do their own research on that, but also realizing that you can't just be using the free version if you're putting client information in. But for our files, everything's always backed up in Dropbox. So I'm able to say, you know what, I'm going to give Claude access to my desktop files, because worst case scenario, if it deletes something, it can't delete it. We have certain permissions. It cannot delete it. Like Dropbox would not allow even me to delete something. Right. And so there's those permissions that you can give it. But like Matthew's saying, you're able to give it, a specific folder, a specific file, and just have it work in this particular silo.
Yeah, that's great. Because even if you put dummy cases in there, cases that are really good cases, but you redact it says, I would love to get any one of these 8 cases.
Yeah.
And then they're in there. So it's like, hey, it's like this case is like that case. Oh,
You
really?
gave it an example.
Exactly.
That's the same. So it's very similar, if not the same, of a screenshot of an error. You fed it the thing that you wanted to work with.
Right.
You didn't describe it. You didn't try to write code because you're not a coder.
Right.
I mean, I'm not. I don't think you are.
No.
Give it what you want it to do in terms of a file, a screenshot,
Definitely.
a picture.
Yes.
It will take it and run within the parameters you give it and the description of the task you want it to do.
Yep.
Yeah.
Formatting, right? Formatting documents. Oh, in Santa Clara County, it's this way. In Los Angeles County, it's this way, right? You can give it the rules.
Absolutely.
And what do the font have to be? What do the margins have to be? How many spaces down does the caption have to be, right? And just give it that.
Yeah.
And then say, draft me a witness disclosures. Look at the file, recommend the witnesses that I did that literally on the airplane here for a King County, Washington case, right? Here's the King County local rules. Here's the file, and it spun up, boom. Here's your 11, this is like one of those low stakes, right? The disclosure of possible witnesses, right? This is not our high stakes at the end where you're picking your trial witnesses. This is early in litigation, at least in King County, Washington.
Right.
And so, boom, it spit out a document I'm sitting there doing other stuff on the airplane.
Yeah.
And it spit out, boom, probably 11 witnesses just based on the documents that our client had with a nice paragraph description.
Right.
Of course, I sent it to the client first. Hey, is this, there's that fact checking, right, that the client can do. But it was all perfectly formatted for King County. I didn't even give it a formatted document.
Right.
I just told it to follow the
King
rules
County.
for King County, Washington.
Yeah, I know.
The King
And I
County
have
local
cases
rules.
in federal court, and the judges have their own standing orders.
Yep.
And I swear, since I've been using AI, I've got 30 of them with no dings.
Yeah.
And before that, about 28 out of 30 would have a ding.
Yeah.
Meaning, you didn't use this font, you didn't do this space, refer to this standing order. I'm like, what standing order are you talking about? Well,
And now, anytime you take a new case, let's say it's a judge you haven't had before, you can say, hey, Claude, go find all the standing orders for this judge, download them as PDFs in this folder, so you don't even have to go find them anymore.
I know.
You can tell Claude to go find it.
I know. I love
The
it.
productivity gains are just huge.
I know.
It's that's what I think is game changing. Clearly, obviously, it's easy to state the obvious on that.
Yeah.
And there's all the other conversations around.
Yeah.
Impacts on economic impacts, workforce, labor changes. I'm not naive, but I'm hopeful that actually what this is going to do is it makes people a lot more productive.
I believe
in
so.
the human skills,
Yes.
learning the human skills.
You get more time
Exactly.
to do that work.
Yeah.
Right.
I used it in trial, and I felt so much more prepared. And so I'm just sitting there thinking about the jurors and how I'm going to connect with them.
Yeah.
I'm not worried about the motion limines or if the judge rules this way or that way, because the click of a button, I know which way my cross-examination is going to go. Because I've been working with the AI tool all along.
Right.
So it knows
Training
that there
it.
could be bumps and grinds, and it's prepared. It's like having an army behind me.
Yeah, exactly. And so that brings us actually advocacy. So
Advocacy, the A.
T, triage, R, research, I, intakes, and then A, advocacy, right? So
Advocacy.
tell us about using it in trial.
Well, I always start off with my jury instructions, right? So I go through my jury instructions and I say, what jury instructions do I need to emphasize and where? And it's so key in that if it knows the story of my case, I say, well, who should I emphasize here? Or who would be the best witness there? And it'll actually tell me how to sequence my whole trial based on knowing the story and knowing the jury instructions. And then if there's a ruling where something doesn't come into evidence, it redoes my closing argument. Because I write my closing arguments before I even go into the trial. So then if something's supposed to happen in trial, I'm like, it doesn't happen, I just kind of scratch it off. But guess what? Claude automatically takes it out of my closing argument and says, well, you didn't prove that fact. And now I'd be like, well, how can I? Is there any way this next witness can give me what I want? They're like, sure. Like, want me to tell you how? I'm like, yes. And so it's just like having a second chair there, So I love it because I put everything that I can into it leading up to it. So I have all my focus group stuff in there. I have my opening statements in there. I have my direct examinations in there, my cross-examinations in there. I have different methods of cross-examination because sometimes maybe I want to use a tighter cross-examination or more aggressive cross-examination. I can actually put another style of cross-examination in there. Like I could put, if I want Brian Panis's cross-examination or Nick Rowley's cross-examination, or on a direct examination, if I want to use homoparsh style. So I can basically, because it knows me so well, I can say, well, how would Rowley address this? And then it'll tell me how Rowley would address this. And like, well, would you like to see a combination of how both of your skills would work in this scenario? I'm like, yeah. Cool. So I still feel like it's part of me. I don't feel like I'm trying to match or make up anybody, because I feel like I put so much into the trial prep, and I've had a partner with me the entire time, that no matter what happens in trial, because I get dailies. So it's watching what's happening. And I mean, one time I was pushing up against an issue, right? And we didn't know, the judge had already ruled against it. And I said, Judge, may I have an offer of proof? And I told I use Eve, and I says, I have an offer of proof. Give me 3 questions in order to open this avenue back up. And they gave me 1, 2, and 3. And the third question, it was accident recon. If he said yes, I can go into a whole nother scope that had been excluded. And sure enough, I asked 1, 2, 3, and the witness says yes. And I was like, how the hell did he know the witness said yes? Well, you know what happened is I had prior transcripts from this same expert in another case. Wow. So it found another case like 9 cases away that I wasn't even really, it wasn't on my radar. Wow. And it knew that these 1, 2, 3 questions had been asked of this same witness. And if the witness had said no to a question he was supposed to say yes, all I would have to do is push a button, and the prior transcripts would have been right there, and I would have been able to walk up and impeach him. And it was like, I just didn't even know. I was just floating on a cloud. Yeah. And even the judge was like, how are you doing this? It's like, I don't know, but I don't care at this point.
Yeah.
You know, so I was just walking on clouds.
Yeah.
So I believe that if you really use it in your prep, you'll be amazed at how much control and how much influence. Because I didn't feel like somebody else was taking over the trial. I felt like my trial was so enhanced that I saw everything that was happening and every move, and I wasn't worried. And a lot of times when you're in a jury trial, if something happens, and the jurors can see it on your face. So you got to have a poker face the whole time. If something bad happens, you got, like you anticipated that. So that was my big problems. I've done trials like Rowley, Keith Bruno, and anytime something goes and I write it down, they're like, dude, you're showing our weakness, man. It's like, you can't react. I was like, I don't get it. But like now that I know I have all this backup because the pressure is off of me, something happens and I'm just smiling because I'm like, I got my Claude, I got my Eve, dude, you're destroyed, really. Because before I'd be like, you guys are yelling at me, but you're not going to help me. Nick, Rowley, Keith Bruno, they're just like, tighten up your game. But now my game is tight. So
what you just described is all the human skills that by being able to have this technological assistance, right? For those of us that are out there, I mean, there's so many lawyers right now freaking out. Or is AI going to replace us? I mean, I wouldn't enjoy being like an in-house contract compliance lawyer right now. That's some stuff that I think that at a certain point, but for what we're doing for trial lawyers, for folks that are listening to this podcast, everything that you're just describing, think how much energy you can spend on poker face, continuing to connect with jurors, taking a breath, staying calm. Those are incredibly human, emotional intelligence because you're out, you're delegating the stuff that can be done by technology to technology so that you're sitting there actually focusing on these soft skills. That's, I mean, the whole TLU brand, right? There's nothing that when you go to an Ambrose Bootcamp and he's telling you to, soften the use of your hand and, all this stuff. For me, it's to not have my voice be so intense all the time, right? I can't outsource that to an AI. I can't delegate that to an AI. But if I can delegate hours of triaging emails or downloading jury instructions or downloading verdicts to an AI, so I can be spending a few hours a day focusing on my depositions and not spending my time not writing the deposition outline, because of course now we can have AI help us do that, but thinking about my delivery and how I'm going to ask this question. We're actually getting to do the more human soft skills part that cannot be replaced by a computer.
My AI even told me when to pause and emphasize certain questions. So I mean, even the cross-examination, because things are always, I slept so good when I was in trial. Normally I'd spend about 7 hours a night. I probably spent about an hour and a half during trials working. I slept so good because I knew the AI had my back. I'm like, okay, if I have to switch my cross-examination based on this, and that, what would it be? Or because it had the transcripts already, when I got in the morning, I was looking at a new cross-examination each day.
No, I love it. I want to back up and ask you a question because you mentioned jury instructions. So how do you, as of right now, How do you get the jury instructions for your cases?
I just go to KC right when I get the case. Okay, because I'm in California. So as soon as I get the case, I basically go into KC and say, what jury instructions are applicable
What's KC?
to this?
Oh, is that the, okay.
That's where our jury instructions are. Right. So you can get them on Westlaw.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can go on Westlaw. I just say, what jury instructions do I need for this case, considering these causes of action?
You know what you could do now?
What?
Use Claude Cowork. Just give it the complaint.
Oh.
And then give it a folder and say, that's what I do in all my cases now.
Right.
Download all the PDFs of all the jury instructions.
Just by giving it
give it the complaint.
There you go.
And then just give it a folder.
That's brilliant.
And you will have the PDFs of all your jury instructions. I can now do it we all know we're supposed to be downloading jury instructions the second you take a case.
Yep, I know.
Up until a month ago, I was not doing that. Who has time? But it's not just the efficiency that Matthew's talking about.
Right.
Yes, the stuff that I was doing before, am I doing it quicker? Yes. But I'm also now able to do stuff I never had time to do before.
Knew you were supposed to be doing
it. We're all of a sudden waiting for deposition time to download jury instructions.
No way.
Now, the second that you're even thinking of the complaint or you've drafted the complaint, that can now go in, give me all the jury instructions. So you obviously do the cool thing where you get to parachute in and go try cases. That's my career goals. And in a few years when my kids are a little bit older, I want to be trying cases all over the country. But you're doing that now. But the second that somebody brings you in, you take that complaint, literally upload it to Claude and say, give me, because it will know the difference between the California, or if you're in another state, it will go pull their state jury instructions and any federal jury instructions. It will you give it the complaint and give it a folder.
That's great.
And walk away.
That's great.
And it will literally go in and get all your jury instructions for you. But it's going to go on all these model jury instruction sites. And there's times where it's like, oh, there isn't a jury instruction for XYZ. Do you want me to find the federal instruction for this as a model? Sure, please. Thank you, Claude.
And then,
I don't say, please, thank you.
Yes, you do. See,
like, yes, asshole, obviously. No, I'm nice sometimes.
I'm very happy. Especially when you're starting to get to verdict forms, too. Because, a referring lawyer doesn't necessarily know, like, how do I tell this story to a jury? Well, I need the verdict form so I know what questions are going to be asked to the jury, in what order, and what's kind of like the specific language that I need to know. As I'm moving forth, whether it's substantial factor or substantial motivating
on the verdict form,
factor.
right?
Yeah. I have to start learning the lingo. And they're like, the lingo? I'm like, the lingo, man.
Yeah, the lingo. Exactly. So that's a big part of advocacy. And there's a cool TED Talk that folks can go and watch that Neil Katyal, who was President Obama's Solicitor General, he just recently had a Supreme Court argument that was successful over the tariffs law, right? And he did a TED Talk that folks should go check out because he actually used he had someone build for him an AI model that was each of the justices of the U.S. Supreme Court. And that's how he prepped for oral argument, was having it develop that personality. And so Matthew was talking about, go ahead.
No,
it was cool. We both watched the TED Talk.
He had it basically test him.
Live quiz him with those justices' personality and questioning style.
That's dope.
And so when I heard about that, a colleague at my firm, our firm got the largest class action verdict in a wage case in the country last year, a $300 million verdict against Providence Health Systems on behalf of 33,000 nurses. We're defending it before the Washington Supreme Court. So my colleague, Jason Ritterizer, who's one of our Seattle partners and our Portland, Oregon partner, he actually brought this up in one of our attorney conference calls with HKM, but it made me think, well, gosh, I go in front of judges all the time. And so I had a hearing coming up about 2 weeks after I learned about this in Idaho State Court on a motion to dismiss. So I was like, okay. So I went into Claude, a project again. So it's a siloed project. I don't want this judge's reasoning bleeding into everything else. So I had it I opened a project in Claude Cowork and had it go into Westlaw and download like a dozen opinions from this judge that were civil and not criminal, right? And so it did that. And I said, hey, do you have enough to create a pattern of her thinking? And it said, no, so I said, okay, go get more. So, and again, I'm just sitting here, I'm like answering a question every once in a while, I'm doing other work, and it downloads all these PDFs of her opinions. And then I asked it to basically develop a pattern of what kind of stuff is she a stickler about, right? And so then I basically had it create its own instructions, just said, hey, okay, create instructions about you are judge so-and-so. And so now I have this, I've now done it a few times, but so when I go before a judge, now I will then upload my briefing for that specific case to this project, and I'll say live quiz me on what my oral argument's gonna be, push me on the cases as this judge would based on her reasonings. In this particular case, I didn't have transcripts of her arguments. Of course you do before the US Supreme Court, right? So now I have these different judges. So when I'm going before an oral argument, whether it's motion to dismiss or motions in limine or motion for summary judgment, I can have it live quiz me. Again, I'm getting to work on the human skills.
Exactly.
Right? How would I respond to that in the moment? Because it's giving me written questions and based on the briefing, pushing back based on how that judge reasons.
Definitely.
And I was able to just create that in Claude.
That's beautiful. And you feel so much more confident
Oh,
going in
so
there.
confident.
It just lessens the bandwidth. Lowers the bandwidth, I should say, because you're just free. You're ready for anything.
Yeah.
You're like, sure, Your Honor, I've taken that into consideration. And you've prepped. It's not like you're just mimicking it.
Well, it's not sci-fi. I mean, it's if you had an assistant who could go and do all the same research, a human person, pull up all the same files that Claude did for Shemia.
Yeah.
And you ask that human person, okay, now that you know this person's reasoning, thinking, start testing me, quizzing me on the facts or how I'm going to present to the judge, or jump in if I'm
you're perfect.
saying the right flow here. I'm excited and curious when we have the class in August to hear people's thoughts on the TED Talk, on that Supreme Court case, on this recommendation or Shemia sharing her approach to this, because there is a lot of debate around it. But I don't think it's not sci-fi. We all speak, think, act in patterns. We're not 100% predictable. And that's not what this does. It doesn't predict what the judge is going to do.
No.
But
it's pattern recognition.
Yeah, exactly. It helped me prep. It helped, I would respond, if you were quizzing me, you'd say, what's this case, right? Almost like flashcards.
Yeah. Right.
But I would respond to it and it would push back, right?
Yeah.
So I had to have 2 or 3 follow-up questions deep.
Yeah.
And in a way that I wouldn't have prepped without that kind of taking on that personality.
Yeah, it reminds me of Kobe Bryant getting up every day at 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, so he can anticipate every move, right?
When the rest of Team USA is coming in from the night. There's that story about Kobe getting up and going to the gym.
Absolutely, but he's embedding patterns of how to react, how to turn, so he doesn't have to think about it when he's in the game and he's taking that last minute shot, because he's taking it 100 times.
Yeah.
It's just pattern recognition.
Right.
And so who's your team, who's your opponent, what's happening, and that's how you get better. It's improving you.
There's that Kobe Bryant video where he talks about when he's playing defense, he says that, I don't know if you've seen this one, where he talks about how if the person who is looking to shoot puts their foot back, he knows that it's a pump fake. Because he's like, nobody shoots with their foot back, right? They're going to shoot. They actually keep their legs square. So, but it's that pattern recognition, right? That he's seen over and over. So if somebody puts their foot back, he knows they're going to drive on him. If they don't put their foot back, he's actually going to block the shot, right? And so it's all that. It's pattern recognition.
I do that with judges, because when they lean back, I know I'm winning. When they lean forward, I'm like, uh-oh.
Time to shot block.
I just put my foot in my mouth. And like, well, judge, nope, it's too late, Mr. King.
Exactly. Yeah. So there's so much in advocacy that we can do.
Oh, yeah.
You talked about it from a trial perspective as we're litigating, getting up to trial, right?
Yeah.
Being able to use the skills that we have, the patterns that are there, and put those into, an AI to help it quiz us, right? To help us take that time to learn the human skills, to perfect those human skills. How would I, on the fly, respond to this follow-up question? Right. And so that was just a cool use of that came from watching a TED Talk and hearing a colleague.
Sometimes the AI's even told me if the opponent is trying to be evasive, there's certain things that they're kind of hiding, or a lot of times if there's a lot of objections and it's going through, it says, look, I think this person who's supposed to be the person most qualified, they're hiding something here. Or you notice when the lawyer objects all the time on these particular issues, so I'm like, what should I do? It says, okay, there's certain categories that they didn't answer to. Here's what we're going to do the next time. So then on the next time, it gives me a different approach, and it gives me a different ways to ask the questions. So it's actually showing me the defense's hand, because it's showing me where they're hiding things. And then it's giving me a script as to how to get to those. It even coaching me along the way to make sure that I get the information I need.
Because it's recognizing the patterns that you can't pick up in the moment because you're literally in that moment asking the question, but it's kind of looking at the overarching pattern.
Yeah, they're cheating patterns. It's like they're cheating. And I was like, I knew they were. Thanks for telling me. It's just like you got a buddy,
There's a great example of a case I was in the past couple of months, and we came in late. And so most of the depositions had already been taken. And so our client had already been deposed, and there's this one particular very smart, very good, and very aggressive attorney, probably the most aggressive attorney I've ever litigated against. And I was going to have to go depose their client. And so what I did was I had Claude read all of the deposition transcripts where that attorney had been the deposing attorney, the questioning attorney. And I said, because I knew this person was going to be very combative, and so I had it create me a cheat sheet of when the defending attorney would say things, what did this attorney say back? What rule? Because it's also in a jurisdiction I don't normally practice in. And so what rule were they citing? And so I had a cheat sheet. And so then when I went in, first off, I realized that the other attorneys had tried to be very combative back with this person. I said, no, that's not going to work. Despite me normally wanting to be very combative, I said, no, I'm not going to out-combat this person. They are more experienced than me. They are, they know this jurisdiction way better than me. Yep. And so I was able to take a very different approach. And instead of combating with them, every time that they would interrupt me, which was 100 times in a 5-hour deposition, I would start scrolling the word calm on my paper and just outline it. And then when they would stop talking, I would count to 3. Oh. And then I would look up and I would say, you can answer, right to the deponent. Just never took their bait. Wow. But the coolest thing was whenever they would start talking over me or doing something, I would verbatim say what they had said when they were the questioning attorney. Counsel, you are violating blah, blah, rule this, or in this case. So I just threw their own, I would never have had time to read through and not only read through it for the facts, but read through it for this attorney's patterns. Right. Yep. And so I was able to go in confidently with this attorney with 30 years more experience than me and all the years more experience in this jurisdiction. Yep. And use their own knowledge of the law and the facts when they were then on the flip side. Yep. But again, it's not just doing the stuff that we've already been doing more efficiently. It's getting to the stuff that I never would have had time to do. Yep. I would have been prepping for this deposition for the facts. I wouldn't have had time to go research all of these other deposition transcripts to pick up their patterns of the ways that they pushed back on the defending attorney. And then I was able to push back on them as the defending attorney with their own words because I had my 10-point cheat sheet of everything to say, right? So that's the kind of stuff that we can do, that we can enhance our practices. Big time. That made me better in my human skills in the deposition in that moment.
And I had the same thing, but I didn't realize that it was also giving me case laws. So at the end, I'd say, I'd cite certain cases, and I'd leave it alone. Then I got to the third deposition where they still weren't giving me my stuff, right? And I came back and my AI says, would you like to do a meet and confer with them? And so I did do a meet and confer, and then afterwards I was drafting a motion to compel, and it was like in the declaration it put 3 attempts at meet and confer, and I'm like, what 3 attempts? Well, the first deposition at the end I brought up 2 or 3 things that he was doing that I thought was improper, and then at the second one I brought 2 or 3 things I thought was improper, and then by the last one it prompted me, you want to do meet and confer? I'm like, I might as well, it's on his dime. He's paying for it, right? Because the court report is still there. So I go, yeah, I want to meet and confer on this, and that. He goes, is that all you have to say, counsel? I'm like, yeah, that's it. And then the next day I go, it's like, would you go ahead like to draft the motion to compel? I go, yeah, sure. Drafted a motion to compel, did a declaration, and I go, well, don't I still have to meet and confer? It's like, no, you already did 3 times. I was like, I did. And so it used the transcripts from the deposition as my meet and confer, put that in the declaration. I was like, I'm smarter than I thought I was.
Yeah, exactly. And so it can go find those exact deposition pages for you. You can tell it yellow highlight. Yeah. It put it in there. And that's and label it as Exhibit 1, Exhibit A, whatever.
It put it in there for me. I was dancing my way. And so, but that's kind of how you leverage it. So for me, AI is like the big equalizer. It's like David versus Goliath. You have a big firm. Now you have to manage your firm and make it efficient. And that's what you're doing. Using your tools effectively. For me, it's like I'm the guy that's going up against 50 lawyers on the other side. Yeah. I have a good cause, but they're going to squash me. Yeah. So I love it.
It is amazing. Yeah. It is, and there's so much more that we'll be able to get. There's some stuff that is so, I've told Matthew about it, but it is so amazing that I wouldn't even want to say it on this podcast because I don't want it out. But we will. But in the boot camp. In the boot camp, we will give it. But I literally am like, I don't want just to ever get out. It's kind of like when Satch Oliver writes his book and then he's like, there's this cool thing I want to show you. Here's a QR code, and you scan the QR code, then you have to verify, yes, I only do plaintiff's work before you can even get to some of his stuff. There's a few things like that we're using in some situations with opposing counsel that I will go into in the August 17th and 18th, but I don't want to say it here because I don't want it to be like out there. 18th, but that's a big one. There's so many ways. And again, this is all just imagination. I'll have, by next month, we'll have more because it just, the fact that I can just go in and go, oh, do this. And, and like, oh, I wonder if Claude can do this. And you just kind of figure it out.
Yeah, you just have to embrace it. I mean, you guys have
curiosity and imagination.
It's so good because just the warmth, the energy, even as that we have. And it's going to be cool. Like we'll have 13 or 14 more people here with us. but it's kind of like supporting each other
Yeah.
as we
Yeah.
grow.
Demystifying it, right? Like,
Demystifying. It's like, why be scared of it? Like, you got to go in your closet and use your
You don't have to learn how to code. Just talk to
no,
it.
exactly. Like learn. I mean, the learning, right,
Yeah.
is demystifying it.
Okay.
Learning how to talk with it.
Okay.
Learning how to set the instructions, the delegation aspect of it, giving it really specific, like what makes a good prompt, why is a good prompt a good prompt, those sorts of things.
Right.
Prompt engineering, people might have been hearing about that sort of approach to AI. There's a lot of buzz around some of these things, the skills, and
So what do we want to learn? We're coming to the boot camp. What's the learning going to be?
definitely it is learning. It's not just a chat function.
Yes, that's the biggest thing.
That you can do that. You're extremely underutilizing an extraordinarily powerful tool.
Right.
So learning how powerful it is and why it's powerful, but then how to harness it.
Harnessing it.
Right. What do we mean by that in terms of how to make sure you're getting out from it, what it can do,
Right.
How to trust it, how to push back on it, how to use the tool, like what's a project
Can I date
versus
it?
a task.
Can I date it? I'm looking.
Oh,
I'm
now
looking, man.
now we're getting into ethics.
You guys did it. All right. Never mind.
Have you ever asked it a personal question?
No, I'm
Or
scared.
asked it for advice, like a personal advice?
No.
I'm not
pretty good.
I'm not advocating that you do so. It's
scary.
It's interesting.
It's gonna know
But
that
we got to remember
It's pattern recognition.
patterns.
it has
Yeah.
trillions of source material that it's been educated on, right? That LLM, large language model, has been provided, has been given, fed trillions of data sources, books on self-help, on relationships, on you name it.
Yeah.
It can give you a really competent response on basically anything you ask it.
All right.
It may not necessarily be accurate. That's the hallucination part.
Right.
But it will give you.
I think you guys need to write a book on that. AI in my relationship, because I read it. I want to go to that boot camp.
I'm not
Yeah,
saying
there
you
you
need
go.
relationship advice.
I know
That's
you
what
don't. I'm
But
sorry.
it's trippy
Yeah.
to kind of see how folks absolutely have developed a relationship with
That's
AI.
cool. Okay.
We've all heard the stories or read the stories about people have a relationship with their AI.
Wow.
And the cautions that are out there
Right.
for, we have kids, we have a 13-year-old, you have kids, you have twins, and we have a 13-year-old and a 9-year-old, and, the stories about being careful, there's always that caution that, you need to realize that it's math. It's a math formula, right? It's not a person, but I think that sometimes you can use it as a mirror, right? Like when I look in a mirror, there's a mirror in this room, I know that it's not actually a human being on the other side. It's a reflection of me. And so when I've used the AI, there's a cool interview that we'll link to and that we can maybe put on the screen here that is a cool prompt that I want to give the author of it credit. So we'll put that in the prompt, but there's a prompt that you can put in that basically asks it to ask you 100 questions, and it tells the AI to be this very ruthless interviewer that will not allow you to say, I don't know, that will not allow you to have unexplained contradictions. And it took me hours. I mean, I think in 3 different settings, it took me 4 hours to get through this. I cried a couple of times, but not because I thought this is a person sitting in front of me. It's a reflection. It's a mirror that I was looking into. And just like when I look into a mirror, I know that the person on the other side is actually me being aided by this object that is glass, right? In the same way, I think that the AI is glass, right? It is an object that I can use to reflect back into myself and to make me answer these questions. And so I think there is so much learning. And I think one of the learning that lawyers will need to be cautious about, just like anybody else, is that the errors that it can make. And a funny story about that is Matthew was mentioning earlier these connectors. So if you go into Claude, and by the way, we'll give all the technicalities of this in the boot camp, but you want the desktop app. So yes, if you go to Claude.com, you're going to find some features, but you want to do Claude.ai. But what you want to do, see, he's the technical knowledge. I'm like, Claude, whatever. Like, I don't even know how any of this works. I am not a techie person. That's the biggest takeaway, is you don't have to be. Right. Again, my diesel mechanic brother went out and bought a computer and is now running this stuff expertly. Nice. And so anyway, so there's these connectors that some of them are pre-built. So he was actually he was gone at a family's graduation. And so I went and I was hosting a bunch of family in Central Oregon for a baseball tournament. So it was going to be multiple different adults. And I realized that Claude had an Instacart connector. And I was like, oh man, because I'm going to have to meal plan for all these people. And so I gave it the preferences of all the people, how many adults, how many kids, and it made this beautiful like 5-day meal plan. Breakfast, we need lunches that we can take to the baseball field and a cooler, right? Awesome stuff. And I was like, oh my God, that would have taken me hours. Yeah. And then I was like, oh, there's an Instacart connector. So I'm like, all right, cool. Here's our location, Instacart. It went on. And in 10 minutes would have taken me hours, and went in and ordered everything that we needed you need 3 jars of refried beans and you need this, right? So we get the Instacart order. I'm pumped. We get the Instacart order and we start unpacking it. Like, boom, there's the 3 tomatoes we needed. There's the milk that we needed. There's the 3 loaves of bread that we needed for all these sandwiches, right? And then there is 6 months worth of frozen sausages because I didn't check it.
You didn't check it?
And then there's a basketball size of jalapenos when we needed about 4, right? So for me, it was a great visual of, it's going to get it like 80% right, but I didn't check. So we had a lifetime supply of jalapenos. Exactly. And we have 6 months of frozen sausages in the freezer because it just went off on a weird tangent and bought like a ton of frozen turkey sausages. When it needed 3 bags, it bought like 15.
Right.
And so that for me was a great visual of, I didn't check it. Yeah. Right. I just fed it to Instacart, and still was probably way quicker than we had to go to the store and buy, I think we was like missing 1 thing. So we had to go get it, as opposed to 4 hours of grocery shopping and meal planning, right? Yes. So it was still quicker, but it was a great visual for me of, it's not going to get it 100% right. Right. It's going to give me 6 months worth of frozen turkey sausage if I don't check it, which is fine when you're feeding people, because frozen turkey sausage is just fine.
Low consequence.
Yeah, low consequence. We threw out some jalapenos for sure. Right. But obviously, when we're signing Rule 11, we got to so I think one of the big parts of learning is learning when to push back and how to push back. And just like we would cross-examine an expert, right? Well, how do you know this? What sources are you using? Exactly. Right? When it's something that's important, when it's something that you're relying on, go push back on it. Okay, what source did you use? Definitely. How recent is that? Oh, I just realized I got the 10-year-old rule, not the most recent rule. Well, I'm glad I asked. So think of the way that we cross-examine experts and ask about the foundation of their knowledge. Just do the same with Claude. Just push back and ask how it gave us that.
Right. And by doing that, it creates a pattern.
Right.
You see, with mine, I started doing like PMK depos. Okay. And then I would have the different categories, but I have a pattern in the way that I ask the questions in my PMK depot. Even if I have a document I want to authenticate, I have certain questions I ask in order to authenticate my document. So anytime it does a PMK outline for me, it includes all of those things. So it knows my patterns and how I'm going to lay foundation, how I'm going to ask questions, how I'm going to ask the expert their expertise, etc. So for you, if you had more time or more practice with ordering food at the picnic 4 or 5 times, it would know what to do, what not to do. It would do the patterns. Yeah, it'd be like, well, do you want this?
I will check the Instacart order before I get 6 months worth of frozen turkey sausage. So by the time
you have a routine or a pattern, then it's kind of like you're working with it.
Because you're learning, it's not just learning you're learning it.
Exactly.
Right.
So that's how you learn.
Yeah. So this is going to be exciting. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah. Yes. So we went through the L, did we?
Yeah.
So take us through it. TRIAL. What's the T for?
Triage. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
R.
Research.
I.
Intakes.
A.
Advocacy.
L.
Learning.
Yep. The word trial, we'll put that on the screen.
Trial.
Yeah, exactly.
Bootcamp.
A little bit,
August.
A little bit on the nose with Trial Lawyers University, but that's
It is
okay.
very Claude
had the butter up to
us. I
Dan.
had to push back as a
Had
little.
the butter up to Dan. Trial.
It's intentional.
Lawyers
Yeah.
University.
Yeah.
Okay. August 17th, 18th.
Here in Hermosa Beach, they're only going to sell 13 seats.
Wow.
Because we want it to be small, right? Like I think there's, we obviously, if the interest is big, which we expect it to be, because everybody that is out there wants to learn how to do, they know it's possible.
Yeah.
And so, obviously we'd like to do more, but we want to keep it small, particularly for this first one, to make sure that we have time, that it's not just this, which obviously has been great, but we don't want to be sitting here talking at people.
Yeah.
We want them with their laptops starting with that. And so if we were so based on everything we've talked about today, what do you think people could go out, like they just listen to this podcast, they're driving, they're cooking, they're riding a bike, whatever they're doing. What do you think they could do today when they get home to try this for the first time?
I'd say make sure they have a desktop version
the
of
app.
Claude AI.
Yeah.
That's the app.
Yep.
Okay, that's one.
Yep.
I gotta do them all. What about the press button part?
Whisper flow?
That's a totally separate thing, but yeah, if you don't like...
We'll talk about it.
For sure.
Okay.
I'm a fast talker, as I'm sure everybody has noticed. Dan Ambrose definitely reminds me every time I do a boot camp. But yeah, if you're not a fast typer, Whisper Flow is a great, it's totally unrelated to Claude, but it's a great dictation app.
I
Whisper
don't think
without
it's
an H.
unrelated to AI though.
Excuse me, I meant it's unrelated to Claude. Yeah.
No, I mean in the sense of because AI, the strength of it is because you don't need to be a coder or software developer.
Yeah.
It's all conversation.
Right.
It's plain language. You can talk to it in plain language.
Right.
So instead of typing, just use that.
That's what
use
I'm
that
gonna
app
do.
or whatever other app you use that does the same voice to text.
Yeah.
And talk.
Right.
You don't have to. Right. Your brain works differently typing versus talking.
Yes.
And
You filter if you type,
Yeah.
right?
Yes.
And it takes longer. You can just
Yeah.
converse.
I
So
love
that's
it.
why I think it's intimately related to how powerful these tools are, is because you can just talk.
But it makes it hard for people to work in the same room. When he and I are working, I'm like, I have to go downstairs because we're both talking to our computers now.
Yeah.
You gotta might have some new logistics to work out.
Exactly.
You know what I would do is also pick the person that I want to have as my audience. You know, like how you have the judge
Okay, yeah.
or the defense counsel. You know, for me, when I get really good, it's going to be the jury.
Yeah.
You know why? Because, you know, you have these people that come and they focus trial consultants and stuff. They help you pick your jury, right? But then they're gone. So then I'm still there with this jury trying to convince this jury and to give the jury pieces of information. So it's like, I'm going to create the person. I can't do it right now because I don't have an active jury. But once I have a jury, those are the 12 people I want to practice, give
Yeah.
information to. But here, for our scenario, like, what about a defense counsel or a judge that I know I have to give this argument to? Or maybe somebody that intimidates me, you know, and saying that, okay, if I had this and I wanted to present it to someone, you know, what would their feedback be? Maybe just choose your husband if you want. But I mean, I think I would have one person, if I want to test my AI out in real life with an oral argument or something like that, who should I deliver that to? So I can get comfortable doing it.
It's exciting, and it's something people want to talk about right now. Is
Yeah.
AI and AI uses, because it's being used, like I said, they're, you know, all across the board.
I love it. Because, I mean, I just feel so comfortable using it. I'm glad that other people
Because
do
you jumped
too.
in, right?
Yeah, curiosity and imagination.
Curiosity and
Right.
imagination. And so
That's all
far,
you
I'm
need.
doing good.
Yeah.
And I just run checks at the end. Now, sometimes, it bolsters my argument because, you know, I'm a trial lawyer, right? I put in my closing arguments. I'm like, that sounds great. It's like, where's that in the evidence? Like,
Yeah, no,
I
exactly.
just
That's
thought
why you got to
wanted a
ask
good
for the
closing. I'm like,
hyperlinks
oh,
or ask
one
it
second.
to ask it to highlight. If you're pulling that from a deposition, right? Download for me that exact deposition
Absolutely.
page and highlight where you got this, right? That's a way that it can still. It's
I
gonna.
know.
You then put your eyes on the right page, or if it's like, oh, oops. It'll say to you sometimes, I'm glad you pushed back on that. I actually wasn't able to find that, right? But that's also part of the check, is if it can find that deposition transcript and highlight those, that, you know, 3 sentences or them saying yes to that question,
Right.
boom, that's now in your
There it
PDF.
is.
You've got that right there.
And
You
it's-
don't need to worry that it's not accurate.
dialed in.
Right.
You know, like now it's like an imprint. You know that that's right. It's like check, check, check.
Yep,
boom.
yep.
And now you're ready to move forward. Check, check, check. Boom, check, check, check. Boom. So if nothing else, it gives you a system that you could trust, that you can believe in.
Right.
And just the preparation.
Yeah.
You can orchestrate it.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, once you have a system, then you know what's wrong, you can switch it. And then you just keep coming back and you can switch it and just keep coming back, you can switch it. So we
yours
are
were-
really, really, really looking forward to the 17th and 18th.
Yes, August 17th and
I'm going to
18th.
be here. I only live 10 minutes away, so I'm going to be here. Okay?
I love it. I love
Yeah.
it. So your 2 takeaways were downloading the desktop app and maybe WhisperFlow or any kind of dictation app.
Yeah.
I think mine would be, once you've done that, just talk to it. Claude even actually has a microphone feature that if you don't want to download WhisperFlow, you just push the microphone and just say, hey, I'm a trial lawyer, and when I wake up and I have fill in the blank to do on that day, this is the thing I procrastinated about the most. How can you help me? Whatever it is. Like, this is the thing that I hate doing the most. This is the thing I dread the most. Fill in the blank. How can you help me? Right? And just let it and start having a conversation.
That's beautiful.
I'll say 2 things. One is definitely triage email. If you don't want to connect with your work email yet because you haven't come to the class, and we'll go through some of the permissions and security settings that we're going to walk you through. Do it on your personal email and just start playing with it just to see what it can do. Related to just seeing how much it can clean up your life is you can have projects within, co-work within Claude. Organize your desktop. Most people tend to have a messy desktop on there, right? Just hundreds of files maybe. And just tell it to organize it. Give it access to your desktop and say, hey, let's organize this. Go to work. Make sure to check with me every category, every folder that you're going to create, and give it a name. Let me check with me first, and then we'll keep going. And it'll do it. It'll do it. It's amazing.
All right. So if you want to be part of this action, join us right here, August 17th and 18th here in Hermosa Beach. TrialLawyersUniversity.com is where you register. It is going to be a blast. We're going to be putting this in action. We're going to be getting on your way to the new world of AI. TRIAL.
trial. There we go. Only 13 seats, so
13
12 because you're
seats.
coming.
12. I'm taking one. 12 and a half. All right. See you here. Booyah.